The silent goodbye of Capricorn. There's something eerily quiet about the way a Capricorn leaves you. They don't raise their voice. They don't cry. They don't even say the words, "I'm leaving." But they are. By the time you realize it, it's already too late. The goodbye has already happened. It happened in the silence, in the missed calls, in the way they stopped asking how your day went, in the way their eyes looked past you as if the thread that once bound you had already unraveled. This isn't a story about drama. This is a story about disappearance, the kind that doesn't slam the door, but quietly walks out and never returns. And if you've ever been loved or left by a Capricorn, you already know. Capricorns don't explode. They don't destroy. They retreat. They disappear with dignity. And if you're not paying attention, you'll mistake their distance for tiredness, their silence for stress, their detachment for just a phase. But I'm here to tell you, it's not a phase. It's a process. A decision made in silence, then carried out without confrontation. Why does it happen like this? Because Capricorn doesn't do messy. They don't believe in destroying what they once built. They believe in protecting you and themselves, even if it means walking away without ever explaining why. To them, silence is mercy, distance is peace, and detachment is survival. But for the one being left behind, it can feel like emotional exile. You're not yelled at, you're just erased. And that's what makes it hurt even more. So how do you know if a Capricorn is pulling away from you? Not with words, but with subtle, heartbreaking signs that most people overlook until it's too late. In this video, we're going to reveal the 12 silent signs that a Capricorn is ending your relationship. These signs aren't always loud, but they're unmistakable, if you know where to look. And by the end of this journey, you won't just understand Capricorn better. You'll understand why your heart never received a goodbye, but your soul always knew one was coming. Let's begin. Sign 1. The emotional distance begins. It never starts with an argument. With Capricorn, it starts with a quiet shift. Not in what they say, but in what they don't say. They're still there. Still going through the motions. Still showing up. But something's missing. The emotional presence that once made you feel safe, it begins to fade. At first, you may not even notice it. They still text you goodnight. They still sit beside you on the couch. But their eyes aren't the same. Their laugh feels muted. Their silence stretches longer. And the weight of their gaze feels absent, even when they're looking right at you. This is sign number 1 that a Capricorn is beginning to pull away. They start to emotionally detach, slowly and silently. Capricorns are not impulsive lovers. They don't love today and leave tomorrow. They stay longer than they should, even when they're already gone inside. And that's what makes this kind of distance so hard to recognize. Because they don't leave physically. They leave energetically. You might still hear them say, "I'm just tired," or "Work's been a lot lately." But the truth is, their emotional world is already shifting. They're beginning to protect their heart, not from you, but from what they sense is no longer aligned. Capricorns feel everything. They just don't show everything. And when they sense that something isn't working, something unspoken, something unresolved, they start building internal walls. Quietly, stone by stone. You'll begin to notice they're not as curious about you anymore. They don't ask about your dreams the way they used to. They respond with whom instead of why. You start to feel like you're sharing your world into a void. It's not anger. It's not even rejection. It's withdrawal. And if you've been through this with a Capricorn, you know the most painful part isn't the fight. It's the absence of a fight. They don't argue. They don't explain. They just slowly stop showing up emotionally. And here's the hardest truth. By the time you notice the emotional distance, they've already been feeling it for weeks. They've already been journaling about it. They've already rehearsed the possibility of letting go, not dramatically, but quietly, with dignity. Because Capricorn doesn't explode. They erode. They disconnect to protect their peace. Life lesson from sign 1. Just because someone is still around doesn't mean they're still connected. In love, emotional presence matters more than physical proximity. If someone like Capricorn begins to retreat quietly, it's not always about what you did wrong. It's often about what they feel they can no longer repair and what they're afraid to say out loud. Sign 2. They stop communicating, but say they're just busy. At first, it sounds reasonable. Sorry, work's been crazy. I've just had so much on my plate lately. I'll call you back in a bit. But that bit never comes. With Capricorn, the emotional withdrawal is never loud, but the communication shift is one of the clearest signs they've started to mentally detach. They don't slam the door. They just stop talking through it. And because they're so good at keeping things practical, they won't make a scene. They'll still show up to dinner. Still send that one-word reply. Still answer your text, eventually. But the rhythm has changed. Where there was once warmth in their words, now there's a chilling politeness. Where there was once curiosity, now there's silence. And if you call them out on it, they won't fight. They'll nod and say, "I'm just really overwhelmed right now." Or they'll shift the conversation to something external, deadlines, family obligations, projects. Anything but feelings. This is how Capricorn pulls away. They slowly stop letting you into their inner world. Capricorns are strategic with their energy. They don't overshare. They don't speak to fill the silence. They speak with purpose, and when the relationship no longer feels aligned, they begin to retract that purpose. They may still talk about logistics, what time is dinner? Did you pick that thing up? But the intimacy in communication is gone. They no longer ask how you're really doing. They no longer tell you how they're really feeling. And this is intentional. Because in their mind, if they're going to leave, they want to make the exit as calm and contained as possible. They won't start fights. They'll just reduce their presence until you start to question it. One client once told me, "My Capricorn boyfriend never broke up with me. He just stopped talking about us. And eventually, we became roommates with polite conversations until one day, I realized he was already gone." That's how subtle it can be. Capricorn believes communication is a tool, not a right. And when they begin to emotionally check out, their language becomes measured, clipped, surface level. They retreat not just from the conversation, but from the intimacy that communication used to create. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to avoid hurting both of you with what they're truly feeling. "I don't see us going any further." But they rarely say it. Instead, they ghost in plain sight, still showing up, still texting, just no longer present. And that's the paradox. You'll talk every day, but feel like strangers every night. Life lesson from sign 2. When someone's words become colder, shorter, fewer, pay attention to the space in between. Capricorn won't always tell you what's wrong, but their silence is an answer. And their lack of communication isn't laziness, it's emotional preparation for goodbye. Sign 3. The warmth fades and everything feels formal. You still see them every day. You still eat dinner together. You still hear them say, "Good night." But it doesn't feel the same. Not because anything explosive happened, but because everything now feels strangely professional. Like you're no longer lovers, just co-workers managing the same schedule. This is one of the most haunting phases of a Capricorn's emotional detachment. The warmth disappears, and everything becomes formal. You'll start to notice. Their hugs are stiff, like a handshake. Their kisses, if they happen, feel like obligation, not intimacy. Their tone is neutral, almost too polite. It's as if they're treating you like a distant friend. Courteous, respectful, but devoid of emotional spark. And what's so disorienting is that Capricorns are already low-drama people. So when the warmth fades, you might second-guess yourself. Maybe you're imagining it. Maybe they're just tired. Maybe you're the one being too sensitive. But no, you're not imagining it. You're witnessing the Capricorn shut the door on their heart. Not with cruelty, but with caution. Because when a Capricorn no longer sees a future in the relationship, they begin to withdraw their softness. They don't want to lead you on. They don't want to fake a connection that no longer resonates. And rather than start a painful conversation, they retreat into structure. They maintain the external appearance of partnership while emotionally checking out from within. You'll feel it when they stop using nicknames, stop playful teasing, replace "I miss you" with "drive safe." no longer hold you for comfort, but pat you like they're tucking in a coworker. And here's the truth. Capricorn doesn't do affection by accident. When they love, they show it subtly, yes, but consistently. And when they stop showing it, it's not because they're confused. It's because they've already begun to grieve the ending, even before saying it out loud. One woman once told me, "When my Capricorn girlfriend stopped making coffee for me in the morning, I knew." She still lived in the house, still came home every night, but the warmth was gone. And once it's gone with Capricorn, it rarely comes back. This is the part where ritual replaces romance. They'll do what they should, but the want to disappears. They'll help carry groceries. They'll remind you of your appointments. They'll say, "Let me know if you need anything." But you no longer feel like they need you. Because Capricorns don't fake affection. They phase it out like the end of a long winter. One cold day at a time. Life lesson from sign 3. Pay attention not just to what someone does, but how they do it. A hug without heart, a kiss without warmth, a conversation without emotion. These are all forms of truth. Capricorn's formality isn't apathy, it's their way of gently stepping back without breaking you. Sign 4. They no longer include you in their future plans. With Capricorn, the future is everything. They don't love on impulse. They don't invest in what they don't intend to build. And when they do love you, they build with you in mind. So when a Capricorn stops talking about the future, when they start saying "I more than we," when you bring up something months away and they go silent, pay attention. Because to Capricorn, pulling back from future plans isn't just a scheduling change. It's a spiritual shift. It's them saying, "In my heart, I no longer see us there." You might bring up a concert 6 weeks from now. They'll say, "Let's wait and see." You ask if they want to take a trip this summer. They reply, "Maybe. Depends on work." You mention a wedding next year. They change the subject. At first, it just feels like they're distracted. But slowly, the pattern reveals itself. They're no longer envisioning a shared timeline. Capricorns are planners by nature. Their mind lives in the long game. When they love you, they talk about moving in together, financial goals, holiday traditions. They map out a mountain and they climb it with you beside them. So when they begin to erase you from the map, that's not a phase. That's a forecast. And the hard part? They usually don't explain why. They simply retract their vision, quietly hoping you won't notice until the idea of us has gently dissolved into me. One man told me, "I didn't realize my Capricorn partner had emotionally left the relationship until I mentioned planning a trip together and she just blinked and said, 'That's too far ahead for me right now.' But she used to plan things 2 years in advance. That moment crushed me more than any fight ever could." This is the painful elegance of Capricorn's detachment. They won't ruin the present. They'll just remove you from their future. And when you're no longer part of their long-term vision, they begin making decisions as if they're already single even if they're still physically there. They'll start choosing jobs, cities, priorities that no longer include you. Not maliciously, but with quiet finality. It's not about being cruel. It's about being prepared. Because Capricorns can't lie to themselves about something that doesn't feel sustainable. So they do what they always do. They build for what's next. And when you're no longer in that blueprint, you're already being left behind. Life lesson from sign 4. When someone stops building with you, it's because they've already started building without you. Capricorns don't abandon lightly. But once they feel a foundation is cracked, they stop laying bricks. And if the future feels uncertain, they'll choose to step back, not to punish you, but to protect what's left of their peace. Sign 5. They stop putting in effort and hope you won't notice. Capricorn doesn't love halfway. When they're in, they're in. They show up, follow through, and build with intention. So when the effort starts to slip, not just once, but consistently, it's not laziness. It's a warning sign. At first, the shift is subtle. They don't plan the date this time. They forget to check in before your big meeting. They used to cook for you on Fridays, now they order takeout without asking what you want. You brush it off. They're tired, busy, overwhelmed. But the truth is more layered. They're already stepping back. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the planet of commitment, effort, and discipline. To them, effort equals value. So when they stop investing effort into the relationship, it's because they no longer feel the return is worth it. Not because you aren't, but because the connection no longer feels right for them. You'll begin to notice. They stop remembering small things that mattered to you. Their gifts or gestures, if they come, feel obligatory. They respond to texts hours later, with one-word answers. They cancel plans more often, saying I'm wiped tonight. And still, they never say anything is wrong. Because Capricorn hates emotional chaos. They won't spark a confrontation. They'll simply withdraw the energy slowly until the bond thins itself out. This creates emotional confusion. You start wondering, did I do something wrong? Are they mad? Why does everything feel so one-sided? And that's exactly the experience of being with a Capricorn who has already begun their exit. They're physically present, but no longer participating. And here's the irony. The less they care, the more they act normal. They'll go through the motions just enough to avoid suspicion. But you'll feel the absence in the forgotten details, the lack of enthusiasm, the hollow routines. One woman said to me, "It wasn't that he stopped doing everything. It's that he stopped doing it with love." Everything felt mechanical, like I was just another item on his to-do list. Capricorn doesn't fake effort well. When their heart's no longer in it, their actions become dry. No color, no life, just obligations. They might still say, "I love you," but their actions whisper, "I've already left." Life lesson from sign 5. Love doesn't vanish in a single day. It fades through the things we stop doing. When someone like Capricorn, who once tried so hard, suddenly stops putting in effort, it's not forgetfulness. It's emotional disengagement. And in their silence, they're hoping you'll accept the ending without them having to say it. Sign 6. They bury themselves in work, but avoid you. No one will question it. Because when a Capricorn says they're busy with work, it's believable. It's expected. Capricorns are natural-born builders. They take pride in their grind. They believe in effort, structure, legacy. So when they begin to withdraw into work, it looks responsible. Admirable, even. But beneath the surface, something deeper is happening. They're hiding. Not from deadlines. From you. This is one of the most classic, yet misunderstood, signs that a Capricorn is preparing to end a relationship. They disappear into productivity. You'll notice. They work longer hours than usual. They stop responding to messages during the day. They come home exhausted, emotionally unavailable. Weekends become catch-up time for projects that never used to matter before. At first, it feels like life just got busier. You tell yourself, they're ambitious. This is temporary. But time keeps passing and the distance grows. The truth. Capricorn isn't just working harder. They're using work as armor. Because facing emotional truth is uncomfortable for them. They'd rather be exhausted than vulnerable. They'd rather stare at spreadsheets than look you in the eyes and say, "I don't think I'm in this anymore." So they avoid. They fill every hour with responsibility. Not to escape you as a person, but to escape the emotional decision they've already made. Capricorn doesn't like mess. They don't want to cause pain, but they also don't know how to say goodbye directly, so they shift the burden to time. They hope the relationship will dissolve quietly, without needing to face the conflict they dread. One woman told me, "He used to tell me everything. Then, slowly, work became his whole life. I'd sit on the couch next to him and feel like I was intruding on someone else's schedule." That's the emotional loneliness of loving a Capricorn who's already checked out. They no longer make space for you, but they won't close the door either. They just fill their calendar until there's no room for the relationship. And because Capricorn is so efficient, they'll still be present enough to avoid blame. They'll say things like, "I'm just under a lot of pressure. I'm doing this for us. I'll make time once this project ends." But the project never ends. Because it was never about the project. It was about not wanting to confront the truth. They're already emotionally preparing to leave. Life lesson from sign 6. Sometimes, the busiest people are the ones avoiding their own hearts. When a Capricorn replaces connection with career, it's not ambition, it's retreat. And if someone's too busy for your love, they've likely already made space for your absence. Sign 7. Affection disappears, but they won't tell you why. The touch fades first. Then the tone. Then the tenderness. And suddenly, you're lying next to someone who once made you feel deeply loved, but now feels like a stranger in your own bed. This is the emotional frost of a Capricorn on their way out. They don't yell. They don't slam doors. They just stop reaching for you. You'll notice. Their I love yous become rare or robotic. They stop initiating hugs, kisses, hand-holding. Eye contact becomes brief or avoided altogether. Physical closeness feels tense or overly casual. Capricorn is an earth sign. They express love through presence, protection, and quiet loyalty. When they're in love, even if they're not overly romantic, they show it in the way they check on you, brush your arm when passing, pull you close without words. So when those gestures vanish, it's not random. It's calculated detachment. And the hardest part, they won't tell you what's wrong. They'll just stop expressing warmth, hoping you get the message without needing to say it out loud. Because for Capricorn, affection is earned and sacred. They don't give it freely to just anyone. So when they start withholding it, it's not to punish you, it's because they've emotionally withdrawn. One man told me, "I used to feel her love even in the silence. But toward the end, even her silence felt cold. She still sat next to me, but the energy was gone. Like I was sitting next to a memory." This is the quiet cruelty of Capricorn's emotional departure. They won't argue. They won't confess. "I don't feel the same anymore." They'll just let the warmth evaporate. Slowly. So slowly, you won't even know when the last real kiss happened. And you'll spend weeks asking yourself, was that the last time she held me with love? When did his tone change? Why do I feel so alone when nothing's technically wrong? Because everything is wrong. It's just happening beneath the surface. Capricorns often feel that pulling away physically is kinder than saying, "I don't want to be here anymore." They believe if they reduce affection, maybe you'll detach naturally too, sparing everyone from a painful conversation. But what they don't realize is, silence can be more devastating than truth. Life lesson from sign 7. Love doesn't leave in words. It often leaves in silence. When a Capricorn stops touching you, it's not rejection, it's revelation. Affection is their quiet truth. And when it disappears, your soul already knows what they're afraid to say. Sign 8. They stop caring about your needs without even noticing. At first, it's small. You're upset and they say, "You'll be fine." You mention you haven't eaten all day and they don't offer to help. You open up about a rough moment and they change the subject. What used to be concern now feels like indifference. This is the point where a Capricorn, once dependable and nurturing, starts to emotionally retreat so far. They no longer even notice what you need. Capricorns don't love loudly, but they love deeply and attentively. When they're committed to you, they're the partner who remembers your routines, prepares for your anxiety before it even hits, steps up when you're overwhelmed without being asked. So when that stops, when your struggle is met with silence, when your needs are brushed off like minor distractions, that's not them being careless. That's them being absent emotionally, spiritually, intuitively. And what hurts the most? They often don't even realize they're doing it. Because once a Capricorn has mentally stepped back from the relationship, their focus shifts inward. They start operating in self-preservation mode. They conserve their energy for their own path, no longer seeing your needs as part of their responsibility. It's not because they're cold. It's because in their mind, the contract is dissolving. One client told me, "He used to bring me tea when I had cramps. Now I can cry in front of him, and he just says, 'Let me know when you want to talk.' And then walks away." You'll notice. They forget important dates. They don't ask follow-up questions about things that matter to you. They stop checking in when you seem off. They no longer offer help unless it directly affects them. This neglect doesn't always come with malice. In fact, Capricorns are often blinded to their own withdrawal. Because in their minds, they're already halfway gone. So they assume you'll adjust, or understand, or eventually leave first. But you don't. You stay. You try harder. You speak up. And yet, they still seem unreachable. And this is the emotional danger zone. You start begging for the kind of care they once gave without being asked. But now, they respond with, "Why are you so sensitive? I'm just tired. You know I care. I'm just not good at expressing it." But you remember a time when they were. You remember when they noticed your favorite snack was missing. When they stayed up with you through a panic attack. When they picked up the phone, no matter how busy they were. Now, they just aren't there. Life lesson from sign 8. Love pays attention. Silence is a form of communication. When someone like Capricorn stops showing up for your needs, it's not because you're too much. It's because they've already let go inside. Not every goodbye is spoken. Sometimes, it looks like neglect. Sign 9. They choose solitude over time with you. They used to ask you to come along. To grab coffee. To take a walk. To just sit quietly on the couch and breathe the same air. Now, they don't. They say things like, "I just need some space. I think I need time to recharge. I'm going to stay in tonight. Alone." And while needing space isn't unusual, with Capricorn, the pattern speaks louder than the request. This isn't about a healthy boundary. It's about a gradual escape. Because when a Capricorn starts consistently choosing solitude over togetherness, it's not rest. It's retreat. Capricorns are deeply private souls. They need time alone to process emotions, manage pressure, and recalibrate. But when they love you, they make you part of that sanctuary. They don't just want you in their life. They want you in their silence. So when they start protecting their alone time from you, rather than sharing it with you, that's a sign the emotional doors are closing. And here's the hard part. They won't frame it as pulling away. They'll frame it as self-care. You'll hear, "It's nothing personal. I just need to be with my thoughts. I'm just overwhelmed." But inside, they've already begun compartmentalizing their life. And you're no longer in the room. One woman said to me, "He used to invite me to sit with him even when he was working. Then he started saying, 'I concentrate better alone.' Eventually, I stopped being invited at all to his thoughts, his space, his life." Capricorn doesn't always walk away physically. Sometimes, they just close the doors slowly, silently, spiritually. And that spiritual distance grows when solitude becomes a wall, not a window. They'll start spending more time in their room, at the gym, in their car, at their desk, with friends who don't ask deep questions. Because being around you means having to feel what they're trying to avoid. It means answering questions like, "Are we okay? Do you still love me? Why do you seem so far away?" Capricorn doesn't like being pushed into emotional corners. So they retreat, quietly, without explanation, hoping their absence will do what their words cannot. Life lesson from sign 9. When someone starts choosing solitude to avoid you, not to reconnect with themselves, it's no longer self-care. It's silent departure. Capricorn won't always slam the door. But if they stop letting you into their world, that is the door closing. Sign 10. Their body language turns cold and you feel it before they speak it. You don't need them to say it. Because their body already has. Capricorn may not raise their voice. They may never say the words, "I'm done." But their shoulders pull back. Their arms cross more often. They turn slightly away when you speak. And suddenly, you don't feel seen anymore. This is the language of disconnection, and Capricorn speaks it fluently when they've already started letting go inside. They don't believe in unnecessary drama. They're not here to humiliate, accuse, or explode. So instead, they let their posture speak the words they don't want to say. You'll notice less eye contact during deep conversations, turning their body away from you on the couch or in bed. Fewer spontaneous touches or playful nudges. a stiffness in their presence, like they're bracing themselves, sitting farther away, even in small spaces. And maybe worst of all, when you reach for them, they flinch. Not outwardly, not rudely, but enough for you to feel it in your bones. Capricorns are earthy, grounded. They express affection through consistency and presence. Even if they aren't always verbal, their touch usually says, "I'm here." So when that touch disappears, when their body becomes guarded instead of open, that's your soul receiving a message long before your mind can accept it. One man once told me, "She didn't tell me it was over. But one night, I put my hand on hers, and she pulled away like I was a stranger." That moment broke me more than words ever could. This kind of withdrawal is rarely aggressive. In fact, it's often cloaked in politeness. They'll still sit next to you, still eat dinner with you, still give you a quick hug before leaving. But it's all mechanical. The spirit of the touch is gone. Capricorn's body language becomes a mirror of their heart. Closed off, cautious, already preparing for separation even if they haven't announced it. And here's the paradox. They think staying physically present is kinder than leaving outright. But for you, the one who still longs for their closeness, this half-presence feels like slow abandonment. Because the space between two bodies in the same room can feel wider than miles when love has left the body. Life lesson from sign 10. When words disappear, the body speaks. And when love exits the body long before it leaves the house, you don't need an argument. You already have your answer. Capricorn's silence isn't just verbal. It's in every inch they back away, even while standing right next to you. Sign 11. They begin to avoid intimacy even when you reach out. You reach for them, and they freeze. You lean in for a kiss, and they turn their head. You ask, "Can we talk tonight?" And they sigh, glance at the clock, and say, "I'm really tired." This isn't rejection in the loud, obvious way. This is Capricorn's quiet rebellion against closeness. And by the time it happens, the intimacy has already been missing for a while. Because when a Capricorn begins to emotionally pull away, one of the strongest signs is this. They stop craving and even resist the very closeness they once protected. This isn't just about sex. It's about connection, touch, presence, vulnerability, and most of all, trust. Intimacy for Capricorn is sacred. It's not something they give out casually. When they love you, they want to bond deeply, mind, body, soul. But when that emotional bond begins to erode, so does their desire to be close. Not because they want to hurt you, but because closeness now feels like a lie. They can't give their body to someone they've emotionally pulled away from. And Capricorn, above all else, hates hypocrisy. One client said to me, "We hadn't touched each other in over a month. When I finally asked him why, he said, 'I didn't want to pretend anymore.' That hit me harder than any argument we ever had." This is what makes Capricorn's withdrawal so devastating. They don't use intimacy as manipulation. They don't fake it. They simply remove themselves from it. Quietly, subtly, permanently, and the signs build. Fewer spontaneous hugs. No lingering kisses. Less eye contact during conversation. Excuses like "I'm tired" or "not tonight" becoming routine. Eventually, the bed feels cold, even when they're lying in it. Because when Capricorn no longer feels emotionally safe or committed, they close the gates. They believe intimacy without love is dishonesty. So instead of faking connection, they withdraw into solitude. And they hope you'll notice. So they won't have to explain. They hope the absence of warmth will deliver the message their lips are too cautious to speak. But for you, the one still reaching out, this hurts worse than a clean breakup. Because it leaves you wondering, did I do something wrong? Am I not desirable anymore? Why do I feel so invisible? But this isn't about your worth. It's about Capricorn's emotional line in the sand. They won't cross it just to keep the peace. Life lesson from sign 11. When intimacy fades, love doesn't always leave with it, but presence does. Capricorn avoids false connection. So when they stop reaching for you or pulling away when you do, it's not indifference. It's a silent boundary. I can't stay connected to what I no longer feel. Sign 12. They stop fighting for the relationship and let it fade on its own. This is the final sign. Not the loudest, but the one that hurts the most. Because by now, they've stopped arguing. They've stopped checking in. They've stopped showing up with their heart. And you, the one still trying, feel like you're fighting alone. This is when Capricorn no longer resists the distance. They simply accept it. Let it grow. Let it shape the silence between you. Capricorns are builders. If they believe something can be fixed, they will try. They'll research, repair, recommit. They'll have difficult conversations, make compromises, and give you time. But when they've emotionally reached their limit, when they've weighed every angle, every future scenario, and still don't see a way forward, they stop fighting. And that, ironically, is how you know they're gone. Not with an explosion, but with a quiet sigh. You'll bring up something important, they'll nod. You'll ask how they feel, they'll say, I don't know. You'll say, let's fix this. And they'll reply, maybe we don't need to. And just like that, the foundation begins to sink, not with a collapse, but with neglect. They stop asking questions, stop offering solutions, stop dreaming with you, and you start to feel like you're in a relationship with yourself. Capricorns don't like wasting time, especially emotional time. So once they've determined the relationship no longer aligns with their values, they don't try to save it just to delay the ending. They simply detach. One person shared this moment with me. I told her I felt us slipping apart. I said, please, let's work on this. And she looked at me and whispered, I think I've already tried. That was the real goodbye. It just didn't sound like one. This is the Capricorn paradox. They appear so composed that you don't realize the relationship has already ended in their heart. You'll still go through the routines, still sleep in the same bed, still talk about who's picking up groceries, but you can feel it. They're already living in the next chapter, one that no longer includes we. Life lesson from sign 12. Love requires effort, and so does ending it with clarity. When a Capricorn stops fighting for the relationship, it's not because they don't care. It's because they've already done the grieving, the calculating, the letting go, internally. And now, they're simply watching the last page turn in silence. Conclusion. When a Capricorn leaves without saying goodbye, there's a particular kind of heartbreak that doesn't come with shouting, slamming doors, or late-night ultimatums. It comes in quiet mornings, in slowly cooling beds, in unanswered texts that once sparked joy. And with Capricorn, the goodbye rarely comes as a sentence. It comes as a series of silent exits, one step at a time, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, until one day, you realize, they're already gone. But let's be clear. Capricorn isn't heartless. They're cautious. They don't want to break you. They just don't know how to stay in something that's already cracked. They'll stay longer than they should. They'll wrestle in silence. They'll pull away slowly, not to hurt you, but to protect the dignity of what once was. Because for Capricorn, endings are not emotional chaos. They are controlled closures. They prefer peace to passion, clarity to conflict. And that's why it hurts. Because the silence feels like you weren't even worth a proper goodbye. But let me tell you this. Their silence is not your fault. Their retreat isn't about your unworthiness. It's about their deep need for alignment, even if that means walking away from someone they once loved. If you've recognized these signs, if you've felt this quiet heartbreak, you're not alone. And if you are a Capricorn, maybe you've done this. Not to wound, but to survive. Sparkles, so what can we learn from all of this? Love needs more than loyalty. It needs presence. Silence is not kindness when it leaves someone confused and grieving alone. And sometimes, the real closure is the moment you decide to stop waiting for words that will never come. Now it's your turn. Have you ever experienced this kind of quiet ending with a Capricorn, or been the one who faded away? Drop your story in the comments. You never know who might find healing in your truth. What sign do you want us to explore next? Let us know. Your voice guides this channel. And if this video resonated with you, if it helped you understand yourself or someone else a little deeper, don't forget to subscribe. We're just getting started, and the Zodiac still has many secrets to reveal. This is Zodiac Secrets Revealed, where we don't just look at the stars, we listen to the silence between them.